Guys, here I'm going to show you guys our opportunities pipeline section. So what this is basically just a pipeline that your new leads are going to travel through so that you can keep track of their information, keep track of where they are in the pipeline, and keep track of how far they've moved along towards actually getting the lead under contract. So you can see here when a new lead comes into the opportunity pipeline, it's going to go into our active leads pipeline. So here on the very left, you can see new leads. This is where new leads are going to go directly after they go through your marketing channels. The first four here, so new leads, no contact made, and workflow complete. The new leads automation workflow is going to move leads through these four on its own as they respond to those messages in the prior video. So once leads get to workflow complete, that means that these leads have made it all the way through the workflow automation, and this is your time to make the call and see if it's going to be a deal that you can get under contract. So the last two here, due diligence, this is where we move people when we're actually running numbers and trying to see if the deal is going to work. And then the last section of this one is offers made. So once we've made an offer and the lead signs the contract, that's when they're considered to be under contract. So at that point, we would move them over to our disposition pipeline. So this is what our disposition pipeline, this is going to be the pipeline that leads go through after they're already under contract and we're trying to find an end buyer for them. So left to right, this is where they'll go when they first get under contract. If we're doing a novation and trying to find a listing agent, you can move them to this block. Junk removal, rehab complete, pictures complete, listing live, and then deal with title and closed paid. So these are all the deals that we are currently working through and have under contract right now. And both of these are just good ways to manage, organize, and store your information so that leads don't slip through the cracks and you know where each lead is throughout the entire process. Here, guys, I'm going to show myself as an example contact moving through the active leads pipeline and then moving myself over to the disposition pipeline. Just an example for how easy it is to move people through the opportunity pipeline. So again, like I said, when a new lead comes in, they'll automatically generate into your new leads section. They will move from new leads through no contact made, through contact made to workflow complete once they make it through your entire automation text channel. So we'll move myself over to workflow complete. So now I'm over in the workflow complete section. At this point, this is when your acquisition team is gonna make the call and try and get this property under contract. So let's say we make the call right now and we want to dive into the numbers and see if this is gonna be a potential deal that works. So we'll move myself over to due diligence. So at this point, the lead is in the due diligence section of the pipeline, and we want to say that we're going to make an offer at 100K. So we make the offer, we send over the contract automatically through the CRM, and we get it under contract. So at this point, I'm going to move myself over to the disposition pipeline and I'll show you guys the process moving from under contract to closed paid. So we'll go into the contact, move them over to the disposition pipeline, stage under contract. we'll say that we got it under contract for 100K and we're going to close on November 30th, 2025. So we'll let that update and we'll move over to our disposition pipeline. So all that information will generate into the contact card. Myself, we're in the under contract section, and we want to move this guy through to closed and paid. So let's say this is a cash deal. We get pictures of the property. We list it on InvestorLift or Facebook or whatever you see fit. So we'll move myself over to listing live. So now that the listing's live, we're talking to end buyers, seeing what type of offer we can get on the property to make our fee, and we get an offer for X, and the deal is going to work. So we'll move it over to deal with title. At this point, we're going to have a good idea on what we can make on the property. So we'll go into opportunity value and we'll change it to, let's say we made 30 on this one. We'll update it. Deals with title. We wait for title to do their processes, and then finally the deal closes. We're good to go. And at this point, we have fully moved the new lead through the active lead pipeline into the disposition pipeline, and then now over to the closed and paid section of the disposition pipeline.